So I went to school to Stanford, and Stanford has this quarter system. And that means that you have to like cover in a quarter what most schools would cover in a semester. And it just means like the pace of learning, the rate of learning is very high. And I've always thought that the biggest gift that Stanford gave me was the ability to learn because it just had to be so quick. You had to learn like whether it was signal processing or whether it was differential calculus, whatever it was, you had to pack it in 10 weeks. I think it's 10 or maybe it's 12 weeks, but anyways, very short amount of time, right? And when working in an industry like crypto where everything's getting reinvented, new things, new paradigms, new projects, new challenges, new regulatory headwinds or tailwinds. Like the industry is very dynamic. It's changing all the time, right? And the ability to really understand these concepts quickly, deeply, and understand how you can apply them into the business becomes very, very relevant and important. The best people, I think, at Bitso are those who are able to learn these things very quickly or just learn very quickly and then understand how you can apply that to your day-to-day, right? Because we see stuff that happens all the time, whether it's cyber criminals that we've gotten attacked by like nation states as a crypto exchange is very common. And so how do you develop the tooling to detect this, to respond to it, to protect your customers from it? And how do you do that not once, but just all the time? Because these folks are just continuously attacking you. Or what is happening on the regulatory front? How do I respond to concerns around what the technology can enable? Or and how do you basically, how can you create the narratives and actually the products and build out the company in a way that you're actually creating things that are beneficial for society? And so for me, the rate at which you're able to learn is an indication of how fast can you adjust. And I don't think we've ever lived at a moment in time when like things are changing so rapidly in all dimensions, right? Whether it's what the president of the United States is putting on social media and reacting to kind of like public policy, like the rate at which things are changing it's just accelerating, right? We see this in the crypto space, but the world is accelerating. Like the fact that we're so interconnected, the fact that there's so much media that is being produced, so much content, and that you can consume content in so many forms. I mean, you just need to stand at an airport and see people grab their phones and they're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And it's like the amount of like signal that, or maybe noise that there is just higher. It's exponentially higher than it was when I was in college 20 years ago. And we had Facebook then, but people would check Facebook in the evenings because no one had a smartphone, right? Now you get basically the stimulus is just ongoing. It's there. And you can spend a lot of time with just noise. And how do you pick that out? And so it's very important to me. The rate of learning is very important to me because it's what allows us to, I think, like find that signal in that noise and then apply it. And I believe that it's a skill that people just must develop in the world as it exists today. Whether it is to understand how do you apply this in your business or how do you respond to the challenges in the lives of your kids who are now like living under a very, very different type of environment that I was born, that I grew up in. And so the tips that I have for people is like, I love reading, but it's impossible to read all the content that there is. And so you need to learn how to like read in a way that you can pick up the things that really matter. I think being an independent thinker becomes very important because especially like as you're consuming things on social media, the narratives are so polarizing these days. And like, I tend to believe that no one can be consistently right ever. And so you need to learn how to build your own opinion on things. There's this line, I believe it's from The Usual Suspects. It says something like, you listen to everyone, but pay attention to no one. And it's a little bit like that. Like the world has turned a little bit like that. Like you just need to be able to sift through all these narratives and then build your own conviction. And a great way to do that is to surround yourself with very smart people and have those conversations with those people and also listen to them, but also build your own opinion around them. One of the sad things about the way that the world has turned out, I think it's going back to a place where this will be enabled. But one of the things that I found very hard is there was a moment of time where it was very difficult to have conversations around specific subjects, even if you just wanted to explore them because you just weren't well versed to them, but you weren't well versed in like women's rights, and that turned you into an evil person. And it was like, well, I've just been very deep into this crypto stuff. I haven't had the time to really study and understand really what are these issues. And so I want to learn and engage. But at times it was very difficult to engage in certain subjects because, yeah, the world had kind of like shut down that narrative. And I think that's like a very special things that universities need to be able to maintain, like the ability to have discourse. But I think even society, like the best ideas will come by having discourse and debating them and forming our opinions and then maybe challenging the status quo and pushing for progress. But without discourse, it's impossible to basically be able to form your own opinions. You need to be able to go into the arena and say something and be debated and learn that maybe you were wrong. But if you're going to burn and you're going to be censored and you're going to be canceled, it reduces the incentive that someone has to put themselves out there. Another quote that I really love is by Stephen Hawking, and he says something to the extent of like, for millions of years, men were just like the animals, but then something happened which sparked the power of our imagination, which is that we learn to talk. And all we need to do is make sure that we keep on talking. And he says that using his very famous robotic voice. It makes it even more powerful because you have this individual who lost the power to talk, found it through this machine, and is telling us all we need to do is make sure that we keep on talking. And I feel really strongly about that because it's the only way that we have, or maybe not the only way, but one of the best ways that we have to just keep on learning. And so if I go back to the premise that learning is important and the rate of learning is important for the future of society and the way in which you run your business, the way in which you educate yourself, your families, etc., then without that ability to engage, to talk, to have conversations, you basically don't have anything.